What's up everyone and welcome back to Awesome American Trains. Today I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to ride Washington State ferries in Washington State. This video is a tip video for both, probably mainly for tourists who are going to come to the States, to come to the western part of Washington State, and maybe some frequent travelers who probably get some usefulness out of these tips as well. Hopefully you enjoy this video. These are 8 tips I think are important, from least important to the most important. Of course, they're all important. They're all pretty important. So you shouldn't ignore one and not you shouldn't ignore one of them if you want to be good at least if you want to enjoy this ferry system. So so let me so what yeah for Washington State ferries is a great way to travel in the western part of Washington State. It's very convenient and it's pretty neat and it's pretty neat boat rides and it's very convenient and it's very fun. I think it's fun at least. I mean, there's probably very few people in the world that don't think that boat rides aren't fun. So I think this is fun. I think you're gonna like this. Very nice, and a lot of people do like them, and people rely on it every day. And I think we're so good to have a good ferry system. In Washington State, not many states in the United States have this ferry system. In fact, we're probably I think according to the Washington State Department of Transportation, we have the biggest ferry system in the United States of America. So that's pretty good. So that's probably saying something that the system of ferries in Washington is a pretty good one. So anyway, let's get started. I'm gonna switch. I know the quality looks bad. Well, it is because I'm recording from a computer. I'm gonna switch to my phone. I'm gonna switch to my phone in real fast, and then I'll get started on the tips. So see you then. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm gonna switch to my phone now. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so so here are the list of top tips. Here we go for riding the ferries in Washington State. So for tip number 8 is about don't worry about the open car decks. If you look on pictures on the web on the ferries in Washington State, you know that they are open. There's no door that protects the car from the water, and you might think, well, how well the you might think, yeah, how's the water might get into the car? Well, not necessarily, because waters here in the Puget Sound are very calm, and they're very rarely ever rough. Once in a while, you might see some roughness, but it's gonna be probably like in very low chance. So it's gonna be very low chance that you'll find something like that in Puget Sound. So don't worry about the car deck. And also, don't worry about the water. Don't worry about falling off the car deck. As long as you follow the instructions and know it and do the smart things, you should be fine. And there's also a net protecting you from the part of the ocean, from the car deck end, from the end of the car deck to the where the ocean is. So the net will protect you. So don't worry about that. So that's tip number 8. Tip number 7: eat something on board on long ferry routes. Not all ferry routes are long, but some of them are. Long ferry routes include like the Bainbridge Island ferry from Seattle to Bainbridge Island, which is about 35 minutes, and Seattle to Bremerton is about 60 minutes, and some other ones are long. And some other ones are long. On these long ones, on these really long ones, on the long ones, I recommend you get something to eat. So you can either get something from the cafeteria, which is not, I don't think it's the best food, but it's there if you need something. Or you can eat something or you can get something from the McDonald's or something on board there. But I would probably eat something because you might get hungry on a long ferry ride after a while. So I would recommend you eat something on board. It's not You don't have to do it, of course, but it's just something I would recommend you do because because it's probably be better, and you might feel better if you eat something on board. And number 6, which is kind of important in my opinion, know what the vessels are operating on the route, because you see, vessels kind of matter, and they're not too important, but they are important. And the reason why this is because Because some vessels are smaller than others. For example, there's a boat called Salish, and it's only holding that operates on the usually operates on the Port Townsend to Cooperville route, and that boat is like can hold 64 cars, which is kind of small. However, the Tacoma, which now or the Puyallup right now operates on the which it now can hold about 202 cars and close to 1,000 passengers on board on the ferry. So you gotta know where the vessels are, so that way you can know where the vessels are, so that way you know that way you know what to expect and so you can be more prepared for not enough, so you know what, so you can prepare to get your needed space for the ship over the boat. Number 5. This tip only applies for certain routes, and that's called book your reservations in early on some routes. And these routes are mainly going to be the Port Townsend to Cooperville routes and Anacortes to San Juan Islands and Sydney, BC. These routes are probably one of those routes that you want a reservation on, and that means you book your space early, and that way you don't have to buy it on the ticket counter when you enter the terminal. You just have the reservation right here. You can just pay the bill, and it's pretty handy sometimes on these routes because sometimes the spaces fill up pretty quickly. So it's good to have a reservation on these routes. So it's good to have a reservation and book them on early. So that's a good idea. A good idea for these routes. Book them early. Like I don't know how long, but early early enough that you can plan ahead. I can't really speak. I cannot speak with how you plan ahead, so I can't say how early you should go. And the number 4th tip is download the WSDOT app. That is the Washington State Department of Transportation app, and this app has a section on the app called Ferries, and it has the list of ferry routes that you're using, and click the ferry route, and you can click the ferry route, and it'll tell you the nearby sailings and how many spaces are left on this ship. And and what else it will have on the right far right corner on the top, it'll have this little triangle that says how many alerts on the ferry route that may be important, that may be affecting the route. So you have to read those alerts very carefully for delays and something like that that's going to affect the route. And also you can also check the vessel watch, so you can check whether your vessel is coming or not. It's somewhat accurate, but it's really handy to know that's there. So I think that's pretty important. So that's a good app to use. It's pretty free. I have it on my phone right now. I'm not using it, of course. I'm using the camera, but it is handy. I recommend you download it. And I like the app. It's pretty convenient. And if you're using a computer, you can go to the US app and go to the Ferries homepage, and then you can check your alerts there. You can schedule there too. But most of you are probably going to use the phone, so the app is probably a good option. And the last 3 tips are probably important, the most important. And the third one is know what vehicle you're taking. And this is pretty important because sometimes they might not let you in depending on the vehicle. For example, if you have like a small car like a Nissan Altima or like a Toyota Corolla, most likely that's perfectly acceptable, and that's perfectly easy to get on the boat. No problem needed. No problem needed. But other vehicles like trailers or like big giant semi trucks or UPS trucks, something like that. Those take a lot of space, and they take a little more time to load, and so know what vehicle taking on these routes. Sometimes on the southern routes when the tide is low, they probably won't let certain vehicle types on the boat, mainly trucks and stuff, because the tide is kind of low and it can be dangerous for trucks to load the ferry when the tide is low. So that might happen. So that's why you had to check the alerts, which is what I mentioned in tip number 4. of checking the alerts. And so that's number two. Number three. Tip number two is pretty important if you want to have a good experience. Follow all crew member instructions, and that means follow. It's not. Yeah, it's very important if you want to have a good time, because the crew members are the ones that will open the gate. They'll let people out, let people in, and you have to follow them all the time, even if it might not 100% agree with them. So like if they tell you to go in this space on the boat, please go in that space. Don't just do whatever what the heck you want. Just follow the instructions. They're probably doing that for your own good, and they're very trained on. And they've been bringing on these ferries for a long time, so they know. So they know how to use. So they know how to use it. So don't think they don't know. So don't think they're selfish people. They are pretty experienced, and so just please pay attention to them. If you don't pay attention to them, you might get some consequences, and they might deny you sailing if you're really rude. So to just be careful and follow the instructions. Okay, so just follow the instructions on the thing, on that with the crew members, and you should be fine. And number one is probably the most important thing, and I think that's probably the most important thing. That is get there early, and I mean get there early. Yeah, you want to for many routes you want to get there early, because if you get there late, you might not be able to get as many time. You might not be able to get on the sailing you want. And if you get there early, you probably get more chance of getting on a sailing. And this is especially true for big routes like Seattle to Bremerton, Port Town to Cooperville, and Anchorage to San Juan's. Please get there early so you can get it. Especially this is especially true if you're a visitor if you're not from Washington. Please get there early so you know what to expect, and so you can get comfortable with it. I recommend for most ferry routes, I would recommend between 20 minutes to 30 minutes and early. And on big ferry routes, the Anacortes to San Juan, I recommend get like 45 to 60 minutes in advance. And so if you don't get there early, you might not get on the sailing you want. And by the way, for people who are on Port Town sailings on the Port Town to Cooperville route and the Anacortes to San Juan Highlands route, if you have a reservation and you miss a ferry route, they will charge you a fee, a no-show fee, I think. And I don't know how much it costs, but it's like a fine for not showing up. And I think it's pretty reasonable because it's kind of inconvenient for not showing up on the boat for them, because they had to look at the reservations and look at reservations to make sure everyone's on the boat. It's kind of inconvenient, so please get there early, and you'll be thanking them later. And so I get there early. So overall, hopefully these tips help you have a good time on the ferries. Like I said before, Washington State Ferries is a really good ferry system, and the ferry rides are really fun. And if you do all and you follow the correct steps, you should be fine, and you'll have a really good time. They're a really good tourist, popular sightseeing activity. You see many different sightseeing stuff like orca whales and sea life. So please enjoy Washington State Ferries when you're in here. I lived here for a long time, and I went on the ferries, and I absolutely like it. Even though I live here for a long time, I still find it enjoyable to going on the ferries a lot. So I recommend you do. So I reckon. So if I enjoy it, and I've been here for a long time, I bet you probably enjoy it if you're a visitor. Which, by the way, this video caters to mainly visitors, but they can also cater to other people, other ferry riders. Can basically caters to everybody. So hopefully you enjoy this video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you take this. Of course, yeah. Hopefully these tips fit you. I mean, I try my best to get the best tips I think they're possible, but some tips might not fit you as much as others. But hopefully it has helped you. And don't forget to subscribe. I might give some more for tips number 1, 3, 2, 1. I might make separate videos on that to get more specific on details on it. Keep an eye on that next year or this year maybe, because those are important tips in my opinion to learn. So other than that, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you understood something, hopefully understood me, and thanks for watching.